Hey everyone! We haven't done a craft hoard video in a while, so I thought, why not today? I was cleaning and reorganizing my craft space, and I finally got pretty much all of my yarn into one place. And among that yarn, I found some rope. One project I've been wanting to do, or test out, I guess, try out, was a crocheted bowl or basket or whatever. Since I found that rope, and I have a shit ton of yarn, I figured now's the time. So today I'm going to show you guys how, or kind of just walk you guys through how I made a little crocheted little bowl basket thing. So let's go see what I got. Alright, in my closet I have a Tupperware of yarn, obviously right there. So give me a sec and I will get it out. But first, this bag of miscellaneous yarn was on top, and it has this rope, which I was going to use for this project. So there's that. Alright, so here are all the yarns. I don't know which one I'm gonna pick. I want one with a lot of yarn in it, so one of these big guys probably. Or I guess I could do maybe one of these. Yeah, I think I'm gonna use these because they don't really feel that good. So I don't want to use them for like socks or a hat or anything. Whereas this stuff feels really nice, so. And then going back into this, I found one of my crochet hooks. So yeah, this is the one I'm going to use. This rope that I'm using is made of a synthetic fiber, so I melted the end to keep it from fraying. If I was using a natural fiber rope, I'd probably just dip the end in glue or something to keep it from fraying. So to start, I made a slip knot with the yarn and then tightened it around my crochet hook. The hook that I'm using is 6mm, but I don't think it really matters too much how big your hook is. I don't think you want it to be too big, but going up or down a couple sizes from what I'm using probably isn't going to be that big of a deal. I laid the rope on top of the working yarn, and then going over the rope, hooked the working yarn with my crochet hook and pulled it through the slip knot. Then I slid this stitch as close to the end of the rope as I could. I chained one and then did a single crochet, bringing the hook under the rope, hooking the working yarn, pulling it back around to the front, and then hooking the working yarn again, this time over the rope, and then pulling it through the loops. Basically, you're just making a single crochet that stitches around the rope. Then I chained one again, and then did another single crochet around the rope. I repeated this a couple times until when I spiraled the rope up, the last stitch matched up with the first stitch, like this. The amount of stitches that you'd need to get to this point will vary depending on the size rope you use, the type of yarn, and the size of your crochet hook. Now, instead of just single crochet stitching around the rope, I first stuck the hook into the gap created by the chain in between the single crochets already around the rope from the previous row, and then under the naked rope, pulling the working yarn through, and then I hooked the working yarn above and pulled it through the loops again, like before. And then I chained one. And then I continued on, making sure to now also crochet through the gap from the red yarn as well. Every so often, I did 2 single crochets into the same gap in order to make the rope spiral lay flat. I just did this by eye, so I'm not sure how often I did it. I continued this until it was the width that I wanted. Now if you wanted, you could end it here and just have it be a flat disc that you can use as a coaster or a trivet or something like that. And if you're really ambitious, you could keep going and make it really big and make it into a rug. But today I'm going to be attempting a little pot basket thing. So to start on the wall of the pot, instead of sticking the hook into the gap on the edge, I stuck the hook through the previous stitch like so. And then I did the rest of it the same, making the single crochet stitch around the rope. I chained one and then continued with the single crochet stitch, but like before, instead of going through the gap, I went through the single crochet stitch from the previous row instead. And then I continued on, going through the single crochet stitch first, all the way around until I reached my starting point. Looking back, I could have made it easier on myself and added some sort of stitch marker here so that I knew where to stop, but whatever. I was thankfully able to just visually see easily where I started, so I knew where to stop. So from here, I just kept crocheting around the rope, but I switched back to stitching into the gap from the previous row, just like I did around the spiral. Since I want this to be straight up and down, I didn't do multiple stitches into a single stitch like I did when I was making the spiral. If you did this, the walls would become wider and wider, which could be the look that you're going for. You could probably make some pretty cute bowls this way, but like I said, I wasn't going for that, so I just went with one stitch into one stitch. I continued this until it was about as high as I wanted. And, well, it's a little more curved than I was wanting. My guess is that it has to do with my tension of the red yarn, because it's only tight looking along the rim, no matter how many rows I did. It's like once that row wasn't the rim anymore, it wasn't super tight. I don't know, it was weird. I didn't decrease or increase the stitches, so I don't know. I'm at a loss. If anyone knows why it's not straight on the sides, and it's kind of like curving in on the top, then please let me know. Anyway, I pushed on. I decided I wanted to add handles to this thing, so to do that, I stopped stitching into the previous yarn and only stitched around the rope. I did keep doing the single crochet, chain one, single crochet, chain one pattern though. I did this a couple times until the handle was about the size that I wanted. I counted the same amount of stitches onto the previous row, and then went back one and stitched into that one, connecting the handle back to the body of the pot. So for example, I did about 8 stitches onto the handle, and then I stitched back into the 7th stitch on the body. If you wanted longer handles, you could add more stitches, and or you could stitch back to the body closer to the beginning of the handle. From here, I continued stitching to the other side, and then I made another handle just like before. Then I made a couple more stitches onto the body to connect the handle again, and then I decided that I wanted to end it here. I cut my rope where I wanted to stop and melted the end. Then I continued stitching like before until I reached the end of the rope. I cut off the yarn with a long tail and then I pulled it tight. I threaded it onto a yarn needle and stitched around the rope a couple times to really secure it, and then I weaved the end in through the previous stitches before ultimately cutting it short. Then I went back to the beginning, threaded that tail onto the needle, and then tied that into a knot, pulling it good to tighten up the little spiral in the very middle. I weaved this end in and then cut the excess off. And it's done. Here it is. Not so bad for my first try, I think. I'd love to revisit this, maybe with a bigger rope or something, to make like a bigger bucket or basket or bowl or whatever. But for now, I'm really digging this guy. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all of that good stuff. If you are interested in following me on any of my social media, the links to those will be down below. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much to my patrons for helping me produce this video. If you like my videos and have learned something from them, please consider supporting me on Patreon to help me continue to make them. It's totally optional. I'll still be making videos either way. It just helps me be able to put out better stuff. A link will be down below, or you can just click up here in the corner.